Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Flex and Reflex Sunday Sit Down, but it is Tuesday. Sunday just gone. You can probably see a little bit, see my eyes a little bit inflamed. I didn't want to have everybody's focus on my eye, even though you probably, now that I've said it, you probably are, because I can see on the screen that it's a little bit inflamed. I decided to give my face a bit of a rest on Sunday. I wear contact lenses, and every time I blink, it gets a little bit worse. I'm on some antibiotics. It's a style. I'm on some antibiotics to help clear it up. And on Sunday, I was just trying to give everything a bit of a rest. So I did do that then. So being true to myself and to you, I'm doing it today. So let's get through. I've got 8 questions I want to get through. So let's see how. Let me just pull the microphone a little bit closer. My cat Whiskers is sleeping right here. So let's go. All right. What's the difference between motivation and discipline, and how do you balance the two? Yeah, interesting question. I think motivation will take you so far, right? It's a little bit like sunscreen. Uh, you put it on and then it washes off at the end of the day. Motivation can be like that. It can keep you getting like get you started in the morning, you get motivated, but then by the next morning, has it washed off? Is it gone? Do you still have that motivation to keep on going? The difference with discipline is that I guess you've gone from a state of using motivation to help you get started, but then it's the discipline that is going to keep you going. How do you create that? Well, for me, I think you've got to attach the motivation to something bigger. So rather than just, okay, this is something in the moment, what is going to keep me going forever? What do I aspire to be? What inspires me? I find that motivation can kind of push you so far, but it's the inspiration, the aspiration, if you like, that's pulling you towards something greater. So what that means is that as soon as the motivation goes, you're not being pushed anymore. And if you don't aspire to be something greater in any area of your life, whether it's your health, your wellness, and so forth, then you'll stop. And this is one of the biggest reasons that people, or a big reason that people stop and don't adopt a healthy lifestyle, because yeah, it is hard to do things consistently. It's easy to do what everybody else is doing. What's everybody else doing? Well, they're not living their best life. They're not being healthy and focusing on doing the right sorts of exercises, drinking the right amount of water, taking supplements, getting the water, working on their mindset, doing all that kind of stuff. Why? Because it requires consistency. It's why the top 1% is at the top 1% for a reason. They're doing the hard things, or the easy things, if you like, doing them consistently. Doing what's required is simple, but it's not necessarily easy, because you've got to do it over and over and over again, which is what I love about it, because I can be in control of that. I can't control my genetics and all that kind of stuff. Look, I spent many decades wishing that I was taller, I was better looking, I was smarter, I could pick up things quicker. But you can wish all you want and be depressed all you want about those things. You can't change that. But I can control my work ethic. I can control what I read. I can control where I put my energy, who I spend that time with. And to me, it's the inspiration of that and the aspiration of that greater life, that greater quality of life. For me, I want to be pain free. I want to be energized. I want to focus on the right things. I want to have just the right sorts of people in my life. So I need to say no to some things and I say yes to some things. I tend to these days say no to more things, particularly in the space of my daughter and my daughter's legacy. I've said no to more things recently than I've said yes, because it's like, do you know what? That's not consistent where I want to take my values and my beliefs, and it's not going to be good for me, my mental health and everything. So I think that's the thing. The question was about how do you balance the two. I don't think you do. I think the or what you want to do is, yeah, you can be motivated to do something, but the sooner that you can turn that motivation into discipline and inspiration and aspiration, that is what's going to change you. So you need to shift the balance more to that, because that will keep you going forever. Good question. Next question, how can someone develop resilience in the face of repeated setbacks? Well, I think a lot of the things that happen in our life, it comes down to how you interpret it. What do things mean to you? So if you can think about it depends how you language it. Let's just call it bad. All those bad things or those tough things that happen in your life. If you can, rather than see them as bad things and see them as building a stronger, mentally tougher version of you, then isn't that a completely different mindset? If you see things as wearing you down and constantly wearing you down, it's like, oh, here's another bad thing that's happened. Oh, this has happened today. This has happened last week. And we kind of build these bad stories up in our mind that, oh, well, that's why I feel this way. That's why I can eat this particular food, because I feel emotionally drained. So I want to go to my comfort eating, or however you language that. Or you can say, do you know what? These things are happening for a reason. It's like life is telling me that I need to do more in this space. I I can't become complacent with where I am. And bad things happen to good people, but they can happen for a reason. And it's what you define as the reason that that's happening for you that is going to really determine who you are. And that can be really challenging to do. But it's also the defining parts of life. You say, well, okay, you get knocked down. You've heard that saying, you get knocked down 7 times, you stand up 8, right? How many times can you get knocked down? And it's only when you don't get up and that's when you fail. And it's like, do you know what? I'm not going to fail. I'm just going to keep going forward. It doesn't matter what anyone says. It doesn't matter what happens to me. I'm going to be successful, because you have this undying belief in you. And where I was once, like as a child, being bullied, and the insecurities that I had for myself, I just knew that at some point in my life, things wouldn't always be this way. I didn't know the solutions, but I had the foresight to say, do you know what? It's not always going to be like this. Yeah, it's bad right now, and I'm hating where I am right now. But that gifted me with a mindset of self-improvement, and a great work ethic, and very focused, and to keep moving forward. And I keep every day I'm improving, refining, getting better at those things. And what was once my weakness, my mental toughness, is now my greatest strength. And that's only come from the way that I see things. And all of those setbacks and everything, it's like, do you know what? This is just making me stronger. It's making me a better person. So I think that is a part of it, a big part of it, the way that you view these things, and just turn it around and refuse to say, well, these setbacks, I'm seeing them as negative. See them as, how do you learn from it? How do you grow from it? What opportunities come from it? And refuse to answer those questions negatively. And you watch how much you grow from that. Number 3, what are some strategies for maintaining a positive mindset during difficult times? Okay, so it's kind of leading on from the last question. I think just refuse to be negative. Just refuse to be negative. Like I say, these 3 questions have completely changed my life for any situation, including the passing of my poor little girl. What can I learn from it? How can I grow from it? What are the opportunities from this? And I look at everything that I've done with Liv's legacy since she passed, have come out of those 3 things. And it doesn't mean there's not a lot of tears, not a lot of sadness, and a lot of missing her every single day. But I refuse to answer those things negatively. And that is, for instance, I could speak for hours about this, so I'll just talk about some of it quickly. Knowing that she's not suffering anymore, right? If you, I'm not going to go into what she was suffering from, and you can go back and you can find that easily by just doing a Google search. But knowing that she's at peace now, I have to take something great away from that. Yeah, there's a lot of pain, but if you don't focus on that and you focus on things differently, then you get completely different outcomes for yourself. So I think that's the bottom line, right? That can be tough to do. Most people don't do it because you want to wallow in the sadness and wallow in how difficult it is. But you keep asking yourself those three questions, go back and replay, and refuse to answer them negatively. How do you navigate the confusion around conflicting nutrition advice in the media? Yeah, look, this is a tricky one, but I think, look, I've been doing this for myself for 36 years, and I look at the fitness trends that have come and gone. I think about the very first piece of fitness equipment that I saw being sold on TV. I think it was called the Abroller or the Abroller Plus or the Abroller Pro or something like that, and you can't even find them anymore. Anyway, nobody's making those anymore. I wonder if they'll make a return now that I'm talking about it. Things like Step Reebok, Slide Reebok don't exist anymore. Certain classes that were invented and that just don't exist anymore because it was a trend and a buzz, and then it played out. The number of diets that existed back in 1988 when I first started versus now, it's so different. Because why do they come about? Because people make money over coming up with some crazy thing or some tweak on something, claiming it as their own, making money, not necessarily caring about what the long-term impacts are for people. And the reality is that a lot of the nutritional advice, probably the biggest ones that have been around in the last 5 years or so, certainly here in Australia, things are a bit slower to catch on, intermittent fasting and keto. Go back a little bit further than that, we had paleo. Is anyone talking about the paleo diet now? Not really. The reality is, I just recorded a podcast on this today, actually. When you have these diets that are eliminating food groups, like fundamentally removing important foods and nutritional foods like certain plant-based food or high energy carbohydrates like keto does, and doing these types of not eating for huge amounts parts of the day and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you think about intermittent fasting. The reality is everybody does some intermittent fasting. It just depends on how you look at it. I mean, we're all fasting from the time we go to sleep at night and the time we wake up. So there's that part of the day that we're fasting. It's just some people take it to extremes. They eat once a day or twice a day and eating a huge amount of food during those hours of eating. I think you just need to engage with somebody that has the same values and beliefs as you. So, for instance, somebody that is so adamant about intermittent fasting or keto or something like that is unlikely to come to me. They might, because they're saying, "Oh, what do you think of this?" etc., etc. But I tend to work with people that really value long-term, sustainable, healthy lifestyle, healthy eating, healthy exercise programs, and so forth. Whereas I'm yet to meet anyone that does keto full-time lifestyle. Normally, they're not optimizing their results. They're doing it for a period, a phase of their life, but then can't manage it, etc. So I'm attracting a different type of client. So I think in telling you that, you need to find somebody that aligns with your values and beliefs. So somebody that is, say, a keto nutrition expert and somebody that wants to adopt that lifestyle is most likely going to go to someone like that. Somebody that comes to me like that, I'm going to talk to them about the way that I like to program my clients and the reasons why I see that there are some problems with that long-term eating. Intermittent fasting, some people do that because of, say, certain health conditions like Crohn's disease and things like that, which make sense for them. I'm not going to go into the reasons why, but it just makes sense for certain health conditions. But most people want to do it because they're looking at the result that perhaps that they will quickly get from it, and then they go back to reverting to an older style. I mean, we're living in a time where there's probably never been any more diets than there are right now, and yet we are becoming more and more unhealthy. So what does that tell you? It's not working, right? So we've got to shift that mindset. So I think find somebody that is going to match your values and beliefs. If that resonates, if I resonate with you, then that's, I'm going to be your person. If not, you're going to find someone else to do that. I think that's That's the key. Find somebody that is an expert, has a proven track record in doing this for years and years. Like I've been doing it for 36 years, 15 years full time as a business. My results speak for themselves. And if my approach and my values and beliefs resonate with you, then great. But I think bottom line, you've got to find somebody that fits that for your criteria. How important is meal timing when it comes to energy and performance? For me, I think it's crucial. My high performing athletes, I have a more stringent sort of program for them as I would say just anyone walking in off the street that wants to become healthier. And that is because we want to optimize their workouts, the nutrient uptake, and there's a lot of science and research behind the way that I do it. I haven't done the science and research. I've learned from the experts that have done that work, and it resonates with me, which is why I do it. I've tried it through my own body. It works really well, and that's the way that I do it. So for me, I find that when people first start to come to see me, they're usually not eating enough meals. They're normally not eating the right nutrients in the right portions, and they're not doing it at the right times of the day and around workouts and that kind of stuff. So most people you see, they go to the gym, they do a workout, they might have a protein shake or something, but that's kind of it. The rest of the time they're maybe trying to be a little bit more focused on what they're eating, but they're pretty much eating whatever it is that they want whenever they want, without really thinking about how can I optimize those results better. But most people also don't know what they don't know. They might read a post or something, say, "Oh, let me try that," or they're looking for that next big supplement. Over the last couple of weeks, I've had a client that has come to me saying they've got all these supplements that somebody has recommended to them. I'm like, man, save yourself some money. You don't need to take all of those things. What you need to do is focus on cleaning up your whole food eating. And that's what's really important. You're never going to find a supplement that is going to completely replace the food that you're eating. The key is to become better at what it is that you're eating and the timing of how you're eating certain foods, particularly your protein, high energy carbohydrates, to optimize your results. And the supplements are just, they're maybe going to give you a little bit of an extra edge. But for most people that are getting it so wrong, not even worrying about supplements and just cleaning up your food is going to give you far better results. Yeah, good question. What's your take on intermittent fasting and who might benefit from it? All right. So I'll answer it this way. Intermittent fasting, like I said before, can be essential for somebody that's got a serious illness. And so, like your Crohn's disease, and eating less frequently to use your bowels less frequently is going to help them, because otherwise they're in a constant inflamed state. So I see that it works really well for them. Some people do intermittent fasting for a period of time because they want to drop weight quickly and then go back to doing something. Look, honestly, I don't see that as effective because most people can't manage that very well, and they're not focusing on the long-term success. I think it's very individualized. It's a hard question to answer because for me, I always ask people, so why do you want to do that? What's important for you about that? And when I ask those questions, most people say, because I want to drop weight quickly. It's like, okay, well, that's most likely to be fluid. And then what are you going to do once that phase finishes? And then for those people that say, yeah, I want to do it for forever, I'm yet to find somebody that does it forever. And I then say, okay, well, what's your lifestyle like? What are you exactly eating? When are you working out? What do you want to achieve for your body? And then just explain the science that I'm aware of in feeding yourself frequently in portions of protein throughout the day is the best way that I've seen to be able to repair muscle and build muscle. So if you're only eating in a very small window of the day, you're missing those other opportunities. And most people at some point find they're run out of energy, particularly if we're seriously getting intense in our workouts and we're wanting to increase the weights every single workout, and how I program people over 12-week cycles and so forth. You'll find that they plateau and they're not recovering well enough. They're not repairing the muscle, and their results will stay like this for a while and then go down. Certainly when you're starting out, you will increase just by the routine if you've never worked out before. And then you get to that point where you're not moving forward because you don't have the right nutrients at the right time. So it's a hard question to answer. I think you've really got to question, why do you want to do it? Like, what's your reasoning behind that? And then I'd suggest we just have a one-on-one conversation about it. You can have that for free by just going to studiospt.com.au, and you can opt in for a free one there. Second last question: how do you decide what tasks to prioritize when everything feels urgent? Big problem with people is how they manage their time, or manage their energy is perhaps a better way to look at it. And we can fall to the default that everything is urgent. So for instance, if I open up I can see on the bottom of my screen here, my email inbox is showing I use Outlook. So the little envelope is highlighted, showing that there is mail there. Now, they come through every 5 minutes or so all day. Now, could I just be working on, say, this? Oh, I've got to pause this because I've got to go check my email. Chances are it's not something that is going to be urgent, because if it was super urgent, somebody would call me on the phone and say, "Hey, I've got this. Can you help me with it?" So I think it's how we prioritize the importance of things in my mind. I've got some things on my desk right now, and you can say, "Oh, I've got to tidy up my desk. Oh, then I've got to check my email. Oh, then I've got to check my social media. Then I've got to go and do this." There's always something, right? The key for me is starting the day with purpose and knowing, before I go to bed at night, I know what the key things are for me to work on in the coming day. So today for me, I know obviously it's Tuesday. My calendar is freer in terms of client time, because it's just the way that my schedule works. So I work more on things on me and on my business rather than in the business on these types of days. If I want to take a little bit more time out, I can do that on a Tuesday, but that's rare for me because I'm just go all the time. But what I do the night before is I say, what are those 3 to 5? And if you've never done this before, I would say don't do any more than 3. But what are those 3 high priority things that by the end of tomorrow, I'd be like, yeah, that's progress for me. I really focused in getting those things done. I did them well, and anything else is kind of a bonus. And so then I would say, okay, let's do those first thing. If I can, if my schedule allows it, I say, let's do those things really well, get them done out of the way first thing, shut your email, whatever, go to a different place, depending on what it is that you're doing, and get it done. The other thing that I use is I use ChatGPT, the paid version, for helping me manage certain tasks. So for instance, if I get a really long, complicated email with attachments and so forth, whether it's from the media or different organizations, I'll say, man, there's so much content in here. I load into ChatGPT. I say, can you summarize this in bullet points for me? And then it might go boom, boom, boom. I say, can you make the point shorter? Can you just give me the top 3 points? Something that we tend to work well in threes. And that helps me manage that without going through hundreds and hundreds of pages of documents, which can be rare, but it happens. Or if there is an email that it's like, man, how do I respond to this? I will copy it in ChatGPT and say, hey, can you give me a response that's this? And then I'll personalize it. It just saves a lot of time. If I'm looking for marketing ideas or different things, I will use that again to do that. I make sure that I will not be distracted at certain times of the day with say social media. So I'll have blocks in my day where I say, okay, this is a time of the day where I'm going to use the energy that I've got to, say, nurture relationships or do that kind of stuff. The things that require a lot of concentration from me, like I'm a chartered accountant that change career, but I hate the accounting stuff. So I'm never going to do that in the afternoon. I have to do it before lunch. Don't ask me why. It's just my brain that says, do you know what? I'm not going to be focused enough to do that in the afternoon. It's something I need to do first thing and get it done. I always feel better after I've done it, but it's just one of those tasks that I have to do then. If it's really complex or requires a lot of creative thinking, I prefer to do those first thing. Those really important things that may be tough, maybe they're tough conversations or something like that. I'll do those first thing in the morning, less distraction, and get it done and get those wins in the day. So often I want to make sure that I get my exercise in, say, first thing in the morning, sets me up for success, and then I can get into the important work stuff. I don't make my workouts really longer than 45 minutes. I've got so much to do. So I want to get that done, tick that box, feel good, helps me focus, and then get into that other stuff. So it's really about your priorities, scheduling as well. If you don't have it scheduled, don't do it. And of course, the challenge there is making sure that you schedule everything you need to get done, and just realize that emails can wait, certain activities can wait. Really have a look at how you're spending your time. Most people aren't focused all the time, and tend to waste time doing the little things and just looking busy for the sake of being busy. But the reality is actually you're wasting time here. You're not adding value. So that's really important. All right, last question. How do you stay productive in environments full of distractions? Okay, so similar to what I just said. So I used to, when I was in an office, we used, like back in the 80s and 90s, people had like offices with doors and you would close them. Then we moved to an environment where everything's open. And then we went to like home environments and all that kind of stuff. Me personally, now I can pretty much work anywhere because it all comes down to how I focus. I have a home office, and in days gone by, gee, maybe when I first started in business, it would be like, man, it's just different from being in an office with people around you and people holding you to account and everything. When you're running your own business, I've got to make myself accountable. So I enjoy the peace, I enjoy the quiet, and I can be really, really focused. But at the same time, you can also be really distracted because it's a home office. But I know what's important to me, and that's it's a bit like what I was talking about earlier about your inspiration. So why are you distracted? Like, why are you distracted? Like, I've got two screens here. I've got a phone, I've got an iPad here as well. It's easy to like, oh, the phone's ringing, I better take that, right? Depending on who it is, I would take it. If I don't recognize the number, I let it go to message bank. If I'm in the middle of something, because I'm focused. If I want to be super focused, I'll switch the phone off. But I usually leave it on and maybe on silent in case my daughter calls and it's an emergency or something like that. It's just a parent thing that you do. My email, like I said, I can see that there's email waiting for me, but I only check it a couple of times a day. And I have that as a footer on the bottom of my email, um, because that can be really distracting. You can be flip-flopping from thing to thing. It's like, no, that's not helping get to my goal. So I'm going to focus on what's important to me, my clients, and growing that. Anything else can wait. When you're working corporately, again, I think it's easy to be drawn into meetings and so forth. It's like, do we really need to have that meeting? Do I really need to be in that meeting? And look, if I went back into corporate now, man, I think I'd be a nightmare in meetings. I'd say, why are we having this meeting? Yeah, why is it an hour? Why is it half an hour? This is something that doesn't even need a meeting. And people used to have meetings and still do in corporate just for the sake of having meetings to like shed responsibility. It's like, how's that going, Rob? How are you doing with that? Yeah, it's going great. Thanks. Why are we here? There's other ways of managing that. And I think corporate's terrible for lack of efficiency. And so particularly big organizations. So you've got to be really hard on yourself. And sometimes you need some coaching with that to help you with it, but it's all around identifying the importance of the priorities. Where are you adding value? Does this meeting add value to anyone? Is the task that you're doing right now, are you focused or are you distracted? Is it getting closer to your goals or is it getting further away from your goal? So many roles each day, people are just doing transactional things And some roles are really important to do those transactional things, but are you doing those transactional things sufficiently? What else could you be doing instead? Where else could you be adding that value to someone? And I think that's the challenge: improving your focus, improving your work ethic. And how do you do that? Well, it's practice, but also having that really solid baseline of health, making sure that you're doing your exercise, you're eating well, so that you're energized. You can then become focused. You then create this unstoppable work ethic, and you get more of everything done. And people see you as a person of a lot of value. So there are the questions for today. Sorry, I'm a couple of days late. The eye should be better by the time we get to Sunday this week. Have a great day, everybody. Hope you've enjoyed this session. Thanks for all your questions, and keep sending them in. See you next time.